Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Also, our podcast below in the description. Check that out.
Also, this video is brought to you by wineaccess.com/ham, John.
Yes, it is. Wineaccess.com/ham. Send a gift today, 20% off. Nice bottles, cheaper bottles. You can check and view any type of bottles you want on wineaccess.com/ham.
Your satisfaction is absolutely guaranteed. John, let's take a look at the Raiders' schedule now. Here's what it looks like. They start on Monday Night Football, and we were texting the other, we were talking about the other day, and you said I think the Raiders are going to get Monday Night Football after the Rams got Sunday Night Football, new stadium. Ravens, awesome Monday night opponent. This is a really cool game. At the Steelers, week 2, a 10 a.m. game. The Dolphins, week 3. Monday Night Football again at the Chargers, week 4. So this is 2 Monday night games in the first month of the season for the Raiders. That's pretty cool. Bears at Denver, Philly before the bye at the Giants, Kansas City, Sunday Night Football, week 10. That's an inflexible week, so that game is locked in. Then Cincy at Dallas, Washington at Kansas City. The Cleveland game on the road is TBD. Could end up on a Saturday there, week 15. Denver, Indy, and the Chargers. So that's the schedule.
Well, the thing that really jumps out to me, Guy, is week 1, Monday night, a lot of eyeballs, right? The hype of just opening weekend of the NFL is a big deal. And that Monday night game, especially now, smart move by ESPN, just go all in on one game.
Yeah.
Even though I never complain with the doubleheaders, but it always felt like they kind of split the baby. Like it was like 2 random games instead of just, this is a big boy game. When I say a big boy game, partly because the fucking Ravens, they've been, I bet if we look at the records the last 3 years, beside probably the Chiefs and maybe the Packers, there aren't teams with better records than the last 3 years. They've won a ton of games. Like the Raiders are not their equal. Now they struggle in the playoffs, the Ravens, even though I think they finally won a playoff game this year against Titans, but they are a powerhouse regular season game or team. Why? How do you prepare for Lamar Jackson? Like he can do things that, remember the Niners season when they go into that game 8-0. They might have, maybe they were 9-0. Maybe they had lost to Seattle, but I just remember being in Hawaii and it was a pouring rain in Baltimore, and you just can't prepare. You just run around like, and at the time the Niners had the best defensive line in the league, and he still made them look foolish.
Yeah,
that's just a really
Niners
tough
were 10-1
matchup.
going into that game.
The Raiders, I mean, their
but
linebacking.
can you argue if you got to do that, to do it week 1 to give yourself some time?
Totally. But my point is just that's a tough. Like it could just. You might lose by a couple touchdowns and be a solid team. But the problem is, guy, the next week, you got a short week going to Pittsburgh. Like, you're going back-to-back teams that just won 11 games. Pittsburgh, I think, won 13. But you know what I'm saying? Like, these 2 teams go to the playoffs every year. That's a tough opening stretch. And Miami did beat them at the end of the last season. Now, granted, it was when they yanked Tua, put Fitzpatrick in, and hit those plays at the end of the game. But still, like, if we just went player for player on the roster, like Miami's roster and the Raiders roster are probably pretty close to equals, right? And you'd say right now everyone's picking Brian Flores as a better coach than Gruden. And the Chargers, like, that's a winnable game, but that's just everyone listen to this, just AFC West. Like when I watch them, beside the Chiefs, like the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers, they all play relatively close games against each other.
Yeah, I think this is where, for the Raiders, Gus Bradley, like the first 4 weeks of the season, these are Gus Bradley games. I know the Raiders can score points. Okay, I know they.
What do you say? 2-2 would be a they would sign up for that right now.
Yes, yep, you would sign up for 2-2. But all right, here we go. Gus Bradley's had all off season to prepare for Lamar Jackson. Now, what do you got? Monday Night Football. Because to me, if they play well in that game, and really, I mean, you could win that game 45-40. It doesn't matter. You find a way to win that game. It kind of feels bigly. Mark Davis is going to come out.
It'd be a huge
his
win.
First game that he's attended. I've been waiting for all you fans. John, I've been to that stadium. I did a UNLV game there 2 days after Thanksgiving. It's an awesome stadium. Like, it's a really cool stadium. So I think the place is going to be. It looks to me like it could get loud there, just based on, like, the seats all feel kind of close to the stadium, to the field. So I think it's going to look sweet. You're right. And this is kind of like the Niners-Titans game. Just a weird, in a good way, unfamiliar. You don't get to see these 2 teams play each other that much. But I think this is the first 4 weeks of the season are about Gus Bradley. He gets Pittsburgh. He gets Miami. Okay? And then he gets the guy that he practiced against every week last year, Justin Herbert. So I think there's a lot here for him. I think it's about him. And if he gets Fields week 5, great. But it's about it. It's about him. I don't doubt. I think the Raiders offense can hang with the Ravens offense. I think the Raiders offense can hang with the Steelers or even the Chargers or the Dolphins. Like the Raiders, this is Gus Bradley into the fire, from the frying pan into the fire, out of the jump. And I think we'll feel pretty early like we got a handle on, is the Raiders defense better this year? Because if it is, okay. You got to now you can go make the playoffs. Go take a step finally.
I would say the Raiders defense that we've witnessed just over the last decade, Lamar Jackson is 100% the last guy that they would ever want to face, right? Because they're so slow and they just never get like a guy like that's just a rough. If they beat Baltimore week 1, probably the Chiefs, when they beat the Chiefs last year, that was a big game, right? Remember Gruden was mad. They were driving him around the parking lot and he was getting pissed. It would probably be a second biggest win since he came back as a Raider coach, right? If I give him the Chiefs divisional game, that was a big deal at Arrowhead. But if you wanted to factor in, like, Corona, the game ended up not mattering. Like week 1 at home against in a packed house, when you factor in like business elements, like in Vegas, the buzz, obviously the Ravens, like people in Vegas gamble, like clearly they understand the Ravens. I bet their over under is like 11.5 or 11. It'd feel huge, would it not? I would say of all the week 1 games we've talked about, if the Raiders beat the Ravens, that
Browns
would feel,
beating the Chiefs would
But I'd say this, the Browns were in the playoffs last year
know.
and won a playoff game. It would feel big, but I'd say the Raiders haven't sniffed the playoffs since Gruden's been back.
Yeah.
It's semantics. I mean, we can nitpick it, but that would feel massive. Like he just beat Lamar Jackson.
And did it at home in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Like the Vegas Knights went to the Stanley Cup Finals their first year. Big deal.
Was a big deal. Because to me, you lose that game, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my, must win at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could beat.
When I say must win,
you
I
could
just
beat
mean
Miami and the Chargers and be 2-2, and then beat the Bears and be 3-2.
But you don't want to start 0-2.
No, especially against AFC playoff teams.
Yeah, so that's where these games matter with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I would bet $10,000 that one of those two teams is a playoff team. But when you're playing them both, it'll be talked about like these two teams are going to be playoff teams, and more than likely they both will be. So worst case scenario, you just split. You have a win over an AFC playoff team.
Yeah.
Because remember last year's we came down the stretch, Miami, Indy, all we kept talking about, like tiebreakers, and then both those teams beat the Raiders.
Well, look at the end of the Raiders schedule, John. Week 14 at Kansas City, Week 15 at Cleveland, Week 16 Denver, Week 17 at Indy, Week 18 the Chargers. That's pretty difficult.
Well, Dubois tweeted out earlier today, and again, it's just on paper in May. Things change dramatically fast in the NFL. They have the toughest schedule on paper. And just
based
honestly,
on last year's win percentages?
My eyes never left the top half. That final stretch, I'd even throw in Washington.
You're right. They were a playoff team.
They play the Cowboys
at Dallas then?
Thanksgiving game. Fuck. That's a big Thanksgiving game. I mean,
those 7 games to end the season then? You're right. I didn't even know. John, Thanksgiving?
That's a pretty big
All
moment.
Right.
That's a pretty cool game.
Guess we'll be streaming that night.
That's a cool game. That's a cool game.
That's a really cool game. At Dallas, Washington, at Kansas City, at Cleveland. Okay, so there's 3 road games in 4 weeks. That's tough. Denver, at Indy, and the Chargers. I mean, these are, especially that last stretch, take out the Dallas, Washington. Those are all that's all AFC games to finish the season. Last 5 weeks of the season are AFC games.
Well, here's what I know.
And do you want, by the way, are you rooting for the Cleveland game to be moved to a Saturday so you're coming from Kansas City on a short week to go play the Browns?
No. Here's what I know 100%. If it comes out over the next month that like the Packers and Rodgers are in an impasse, that he told them it's never going to happen, and Denver is getting seriously involved, the Raiders just have to trade for him. Because if I told you that Aaron Rodgers ends up on the Broncos, you look at this schedule dramatically different, right?
You're saying you trade for Aaron Rodgers only as a block?
But partly you just need Aaron Rodgers, but two, like you can't let.
I mean, you could take him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you. But
could you let Aaron Rodgers go to the Broncos? If
No.
I tell you he's on the Broncos, how hard does the schedule look?
Really hard. I mean, the Bengals game and the Giants games and the Philly game. It's about
but
it.
I even say, I think you're underselling. Like the Giants have a good defense. They've been physical. Now it's coming off a bye.
It's a road game in November. Could be really cold.
It's in New York.
But dangerous turf, right?
Yeah. That's an interesting little stretch right there. Giants, Chiefs, Bengals. Like, you got to probably win 2 or 3 of those, because assuming you're going to lose the Chiefs.
Giants, Chiefs, Bengals.
One thing NBC's kind of realized, Chiefs Raiders kind of alive again. Just when they play each other, the games are fun.
Yeah, that first one's Sunday night and the second one's CBS, although 10 a.m., but could get moved. Or it doesn't have to be, I guess.
Yeah, it could be like a Spiritus.
This is a really good schedule, like from an entertainment standpoint. So if you bought Raiders, if you're in Vegas, your home games are we already knew the games, but I'm just reading them back. Pittsburgh, Chargers, Broncos, Giants, Cowboys, Chiefs, Browns, Colts. You know what'll be interesting is, like, what does that Cowboys game look like? Oh, I'm sorry. I just read all the road games. I'm sorry. If you bought tickets, you get Ravens, Dolphins, Bears, Eagles, Chiefs, obviously, Bengals, WFT, and Denver, and the Chargers. That's pretty good. You get the Ravens. To me, those first 3 home
When
games,
you read the road schedule, I was like, damn, this is an unreal home. Their road schedule is sweet.
It is. You're talking
when
from
you read
an
their road
entertainment
schedule, I was
standpoint.
like, the first thing I thought of, like, how many of these fans. What will be
That's what I was
interesting
thinking.
is for Denver and Kansas City. Both of them have massive fan bases. That's a pretty cool game if you're those 2 fans. Like, do you try to go to Vegas?
Which fans will be the least responsible in Vegas? Cincinnati Bengals fans? Are they the ones that...
they're irrelevant.
No. But I'm saying Bengals fans, are they the ones that will get, like, the attendance to barf ratio with Bengals fans could be really high, or are they just old school drinkers not going to be phased?
Yeah, I
feel like a
just
lot
don't
of beer Bengals fans, and then they're going to get to Vegas and start drinking hard alcohol. They could be barfing all over the place on Sunday.
I don't just know if there's enough of them to really you would even notice. Like, I'm thinking of a franchise with a lot. Like
the Bears.
I mean, don't you think there's a decent amount of Bears fans that live on the West Coast? They're like, you want to go to Vegas this weekend? Watch the Bears game?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Like, if me and you were from Chicago, and instead of being podcasters, we ran an insurance company in the Bay Area, and we were diehard Bears fans.
We called it George Blanda Insurance. Actually, I think Blanda might have had an insurance company.
Wouldn't we go to that game? I mean, just go to the Vegas for the weekend. It'd be an easy one. That's where I do think they're going to get a lot of. We have not mentioned this because it's not really the time. It's going to be fascinating to watch the crowd, right? Because be Vegas people. It's going to be a lot of just fly-ins.
Yeah, do they have a good home field advantage is what you're saying.
Because I do think there's going to be a lot of road team fans because it's a destination city to, like, just take a couple days to go get wasted and have a good time, right? Hell, even, like, take your wife and your kids, just go hang out. There's a lot of stuff to do in Vegas.
Well, if you're a Chiefs fan, it's November, it's cold. You're like, let me go to Vegas. I know it's the Raiders. I play them twice a year, but yeah, let's go do that.
I think the Chiefs and Denver Broncos are going to have a decent turnout against them.
Do Chargers fans go, or are they like, I can go to L.A.? To
I don't
me,
even
Raiders fans going to L.A. is a bigger deal in terms of taking away somebody's home field advantage.
Well, I don't even think they have to go to L.A. They just live there, right?
Oh, yeah, with that. And the Chargers tickets available.